All right, I think we'll start. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our virtual Open Day 2021. My name is Gitte, and I work with marketing and recruitment and at the international office here at Aarhus University. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the university, and I'll also be the one guiding you through our virtual Open Day today. But as you can see, I'm not alone. I have some of my colleagues here with me today. First of all, we have Dorte, who will talk about career opportunities. Then we have Sanne, who will talk about housing. And then we have Sigrun from Studenterhus Aarhus. And just a few basic Zoom rules. If you have any questions, please just write them in the Q&A, and we'll get to them after each presentation. And if we need to share links or emails or anything like that with you, we'll do that in the chat. So, let's see if I can get the next slide. Yep. The program for today, I'll do a welcome and a short introduction to the university first. Afterwards, Sanne will talk about the housing and what to do to get housing when you come here. Dorte will talk about both student jobs, internships, and how to get a job in Denmark after you graduate, if you want to stay in Denmark afterwards. And then Sigrun will talk about Studenterhus Aarhus and how they can make your student life here in Denmark even more fun. Then at 12:20, we'll have two different webinars about admission, one for if you're interested in applying for bachelor programs and one for master programs. And then from 1 o'clock and onwards, we have faculty-specific presentations. So depending on which program you're interested in, there's different presentations going on. Also, we have a chat function today. You can chat to a study counselor from 11 to 1. There's a separate Zoom room for this that is also in the invitation for today. And then from 11 to 3, you can chat with current students on Instagram. Our Instagram is called Aarhus_University, and we're also on WeChat. For WeChat, you should use this QR code, which is also on our website. And you can talk to these 8 current students. As you can see, they are from very different programs and very different countries. So there's a lot of different opportunities to reach out, and they're ready both on Instagram and WeChat to answer all your questions from now on and throughout the day. So please take advantage of that. So welcome to Aarhus University. I would have loved to welcome you physically at our campus. Today is just like this picture. This picture was taken 2 days ago. But it's just a sunny day, even though it's very cold. It's minus 12 degrees. So by that, I'm pretty glad we don't do the campus tours today, but I'm free to do that whenever you are coming. So just reach out if you want to have a real tour of campus one day. But now I'll just give you a short presentation about Aarhus University and Denmark. Denmark is a very small country. We are only 5.8 million people, and actually the country is so small that no matter where in Denmark you are, you're never more than 1 hour from the ocean. In Denmark, the spoken language is Danish, but don't worry, most Danes speak English really well. So you'll have no problem getting by, and this will actually give you the opportunity to study in English and have this international experience without having to learn an extra language, because even bus drivers and people in the supermarket speak English. Denmark is also a very safe country. It's one of the 5 safest countries in the world and also one of the happiest. Denmark is also the least corrupt country in the world, and this might have something to do with the level of trust we see in Denmark. This is a map of Denmark and Denmark in Europe. As you can see, Aarhus is right kind of mid in Jutland, right by the water. We have excellent beaches. People go swimming. actually all year round. I prefer in the summer though. And as you can see in Europe, we're just on top of Germany and just below Norway and Sweden. So when everything opens up again, this will also give you excellent opportunities to go out and see the rest of Europe if that's an interest of yours. Some Denmark is also a pretty easy country to start a business, and we even have people here at the university ready to help you if you want to start your own business. Furthermore, many of the biggest companies worldwide have started here in Denmark. So, for instance, Lego, Novo Nordisk, Vestas, and Carlsberg. A little bit about Aarhus, our city. It's a very old city. It was founded by the Vikings more than 1,000 years ago. But in terms of the population's age, we're actually the youngest city in Denmark. And for people living in the city center, more than half of the people living there are in their 20s. So this also means that when it's not Corona times, there are plenty of offers for young people in the cities. So lots of concerts, museums, different exhibitions, great nightlife and shopping. And also all the dormitories in the city are all within walking or biking distance. On top of having a young population, we also pride ourselves of being Denmark's student city #1. So Copenhagen might be the biggest city, but we are Denmark's student city #1. Of the 350,000 people living here in Denmark, more than 50,000 are students, either at Aarhus University or one of the other higher education institutions in Aarhus. Also, 33% of the people living here in Aarhus are university educated. So we really hope that you'll also join us here and be a student at Aarhus University. So a little bit about Aarhus University. It was founded in 1928 by a small group of private contributions. It has since grown to be a large public research university covering the entire research spectrum. When it was decided in around 1920 that Denmark needed a second university and the honor went to Aarhus, the government suddenly realized that they didn't have the money to fund another university anyway. So the university started with these private contributions. But it was not only money, it was also other stuff. So like 1 million yellow bricks. And that's actually the reason why all the buildings in the university park are yellow. So why should you choose Aarhus University? Hopefully the presentations and the talks with current students today will convince you if you're not already convinced. But I'll just mention a few other reasons why you should come here. Aarhus University is a top 100 university. It was ranked number 69 in the latest Shanghai ranking. And we're also in the top 50 in several subject-based rankings on QS and also on Times Higher. All researchers are active researchers, so that means that you'll also always be taught in the newest knowledge within the fields that our researchers do research in. The tuition fee is very competitive and favorable. It's free for EU citizens, and for non-EUs, it's between 8,000 and 15,300 euros per year. So a little bit about the history of Aarhus University. I'll not bore you with a long history lesson of Aarhus University, but I thought I'll just share this picture. The picture is from 1934, and the buildings, which are also some of the yellow brick buildings, are some of the oldest in the university park. Today, they're home of the Department of Political Science. If you're wondering about the sheep in the picture, they were brought in from the western part of Jutland to work as lawnmowers on the grass in the park. But they didn't last that long. The sheep always gathered under the big window in the middle of the screen. And then they just stood there they saw their own reflection, and then they just stood there and barred, so nobody could hear anything inside. Inside there was a chemistry auditorium, so people could not hear anything what their teacher had to say. So not really a great solution. But then you might wonder why we should have sheep in the first place. But all the old English universities like Cambridge and Oxford had sheep and on their campuses, so of course we should also have sheep. So today the university have almost outgrown the university park, which means that, well, of course, many of the departments are still in the university park, but also many also in other parts of this city. So just north of the city, we have the IT city, or IT-byen in Danish, at Katrinebjerg, where research and teaching within media and information science, computer science, and computer and electrical engineering are based. And they're actually situated next to a lot of IT companies and startups. Also, Google has a development department here. And then we have Navitas at the harbor. That's the building that looks like a star, or with the sharp corners. Here we have mechanical and civil engineering, and they're placed in the same buildings as technology companies, new startups, and researchers within this area. So everyone can share these great facilities and ideas. And in the bottom corner, we have Fuglsangsallé, which is our campus for all our business programs. So they are also close together. So you have a community of a lot of business students. Then a few pictures from our campus. The top corner, the boat race, is an annual event. It was cancelled last year, of course, but we'll see if we can do it this year, maybe next year otherwise. But we have had this for more than 10 years. It's the biggest event of the year. It's actually Northern Europe's biggest student-led event every year. More than 25,000 students gather in the university park to watch this race. It's the different student unions that race against each other. What you do is you row across the lake. It's not a very big lake, but you row across, you drink a beer as fast as you can, you run around the beer can 10 times, and then you row back. And then the team that comes first, of course, wins. And it's very competitive, and people actually start normally to train for this in February or March on the year. So the application deadlines are coming up very soon. So if for all bachelor programs, remember that the deadline is March 15. It should of course say 2021. I always mix that up in the beginning of the year, but of course it's 2021. And the same with master programs. If you're from the EU, EA, or Swiss, you should apply before 1st of March 2021. And otherwise, for more information about admission requirements, how to apply, and all these stuff, go to our website, international.au.dk. And of course, also do follow the presentation on admission later today. So any questions? I can see that we have 3. First one, are there any courses on Aarhus University providing basic understanding of the Danish language for the foreigners? Yes, we have Danish classes. Now they're actually free again. First, at a while they cost some money. Maybe Siron would also tell a little bit more about Danish classes, because they also have the opportunity at the Studenterhus. But all students at Aarhus University can attend Danish classes for free. And then there's someone asking if there's a maximum number of international students admitted every year to the master programs. There's not. There's some programs that has a limitation on intake, but that's a general limitation, not for internationals. So depending on the program, there might be a limitation in general, but otherwise not. And then someone asking if the presentation will be available later. And yes, this presentation is recorded, and also the presentation about admission is recorded. And then the PowerPoint presentation of the later meetings today will also be sent to everyone after today. And then someone's asking about Erasmus program. That's for our exchange. This is mostly for full degree programs today, but later on I'll type in the link for our Erasmus coordinators, and then you can reach out to them to ask, because we do have study abroad and exchange possibility also for master programs or the master's level. Someone's asking about the medical faculty. We have a medical faculty that just don't have any international programs at the master's level. All their PhD programs are international, but not master's level or bachelor's either. They're also only Danish. And then someone's asking if classes will be online the start of next school year. We don't know. Right now we know that it will be online until the end of March, and then hopefully might start again in April, but it's really not something that we know right now. But we will update everyone who will apply continuously on our website and let you know. But I can say that last year we had a combination of online classes and physical classes. And then someone's asking if there'll be any new bachelor programs soon, or any changes in the currently 3 there are. I don't think so. I haven't heard anything. So, and normally it takes a while for a program to be approved. So I think at least for the next year or 2, we'll have the same 3 that we have right now. Let me just go through these questions. Hold on, I'll get to the next one. We have a few more questions, and then we'll go to the next presentation. Someone's asking about if you need to have the diploma when you apply for the master's program. You don't. And also, if you have any questions regarding admission, please just save them for the admissions presentation. There's also going to be plenty of time for asking questions at these presentations. And yes, the deadline for non-EU students have passed. It was 15th of January. But if you're interested in engineering programs, there's going to be, we have an intake twice a year. So then you can apply again in September and then start in January. But otherwise, it's every year, 15th of January. And again, start studying in January, February. Yes, if you're interested in engineering, that's definitely a possibility. Otherwise, it's only once a year in September. But you can check our websites on which programs will have intake twice a year. And yes, right now we only have online classes, but we'll have hopefully have physical classes again later this year, but you never know. And then scholarships for non-EUs, how to apply for these. You can't apply for the scholarships, but all applicants will be considered for scholarship. So if you apply to study here, you'll also automatically apply for scholarship if you're from a non-EU country and a master's student. Let me just see. I can see that there are a few questions about admission. I'll leave those and please and ask you to ask them for the admissions office. And then I think we will go on to the next presentation. Also, just remind you that some of these, I saw there was also a question about living cost. I would encourage you to ask these students, because they would know a lot better than me how they see the living cost in Denmark compared to what they're used to. From what I hear, it's not as bad as people have heard. For instance, the rent in the housing is pretty cheap compared to other big cities around the world. And there's a lot of ways to save money as well. But please don't hesitate to reach out to these students with all these questions as well. But for admission, save them for the admission offices later on. They are really the experts on admission. And now, next up, housing in Aarhus. I'll leave the floor to Sanne. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you'll have a lot of fun with all these presentations.
Share here. Okay, so I'll try to guide you through what to do with housing in Aarhus. There are different places that you can apply, and we recommend that you apply either through Student Housing Aarhus or in Danish Kollegiekontor, or take a look at the private market, because there are many different options. I want to start with saying that Student Housing Aarhus is not the same as AU housing, just so you know. And towards the end of this presentation, I will leave a link for AU Housing's website for different options on the private market, but I will mainly focus on Student Housing Aarhus in this presentation. Because Student Housing Aarhus is a huge housing organization here in Aarhus, they have different kinds of rooms. So if you want a dorm room, or if you're looking into a one-room apartment, a two-room apartment, if you want to share with a friend, they have it. And the locations are also spread throughout the entire city. So if you want to be close to the city center, you can choose that. If you want to be close to campus, or maybe in the outskirts of Aarhus where it's a bit more quiet, you can choose that. And they have just opened the application process. So I would advise you to apply as soon as possible to secure an accommodation for your stay here. And it is possible to apply before receiving an official letter of enrollment from Aarhus University. Just need to be aware of the deadline for admitting the official papers, which is the 15th of August. And I should note that these accommodations are unfurnished through the Student Housing Aarhus. So a bit later, I will show you a snippet of the actual application form, but right now I'll just tell you about the two different kinds of application when you go through Student Housing Aarhus, because there are a few important differences between the two. So the first one is if you want to apply for specific dormitories, you can go through the list and see the waiting times. I have on the picture here, you can see the housing, and then you can choose the different waiting times, but you can also just see a list of the different accommodations and their estimated wait. And this is important because for this application, you are not necessarily guaranteed an available accommodation by the beginning of your studies, but you might get an open spot later on. This is also the one where you can apply for two-room apartments if you want to share with a friend. There are specific rules to this, so please check the rules on the website. You can also see the tab up there next to housing. And the housing offer goes out to multiple people. So even if you say yes to a housing offer through this specific dormitory selection, you might not get the spot, but you will get different options. The important thing is that you get a maximum of 3 housing offers. If you either reject it or if you don't see it because it ends up in your spam filter, they still count. So you only get the 3 housing offers before your application is deleted, and then you need to reapply and create a new application. So for this specific application, you choose the different dormitories that you want to apply for, and then you get on the waiting list only for those dormitories. And this is a big difference from the second type of application, which is through housing guarantee. So this is more of an addition to the normal application. And by the normal application, I mean the one with where you've chosen the specific dormitories that you want to apply for. The housing guarantee assures that you have an accommodation, but the accommodation that you're offered may not be the ones that you have applied for. It is only the accommodations with the shortest waiting time that are offered, and it is only one-room accommodations. So if you want to apply with a friend and you still choose the housing guarantee, you will not get a place together. Also, please note that when you fill out the application, you fill in the day that you want to start the contract. But if you go through housing guarantee, the rent period might be earlier. So for instance, if you have chosen to start the application on the 15th of August or the 1st of August, you might still get an offer from the 15th of July. And the important thing is that through housing guarantee, you only get one offer. And that also goes for if you see it, don't see it if it's in your spam filter, or if you ignore it, or if you just reject it. You only receive one housing guarantee, and then you are deleted from the guarantee list, but not the actual application. So again, you still have the normal application where you can fill in the different ones that the different places that you want to apply for, but the guarantee is just an addition to that application. I hope it makes sense, but otherwise the different rules and the process are very specified on the Student Housing Aarhus website, so you can always check that out. And when you come to the process of actually creating an application, again, I suggest that you read through the rules, because there are different rules, for instance, that you need to keep your application active on the website, otherwise it will get deleted. But otherwise, just click the top right-hand corner where it says create an application. It's very straightforward. You can choose the language that you want, so Danish or English. You can choose how many people you want, one person, two persons. And then you go to the personal information. And this is where you need to apply for the housing guarantee if you want to. On the personal information side, it's towards the bottom. You can see the housing guarantee here I've circled, and then just check the box. If you apply with the housing guarantee and then later on decide that you don't want it anymore, you can always delete yourself from the guarantee list, but not the waiting list. So if you choose to delete yourself from the guarantee list, you still have your normal application as long as you keep it active. And then after that, you just submit the different dormitories that you want to choose, and then you're done. So all you need to do after that is keeping your application active by logging in. They have stated I think it's once every month that you need to check. Just log into your account and it keeps the application active. And then I can only recommend that you check your email very often, just to make sure that you don't miss anything, any deadlines or any housing offers, so you lose your opportunities. And there's a very good chance that you get a room through Student Housing Aarhus, again, because they're so big. They have so many different kinds of accommodations, and there's certainly something that will speak to you, speak to your taste, I hope. And again, for the private market, I have linked the website here. I will also link it in the chat, as Gitte mentioned. We will link the contact information and the links in the chat, but you will also receive this presentation. But on this side here, you can just see a list of other organizations, housing organizations. It can also be Facebook groups for private landlords. You can basically find anything. Even if you want a Danish roommate, you can go specifically for that. So there are a lot of housing options, and there are a lot of places to search for housing options. But we do recommend at least applying for Student Housing Aarhus, because again, you don't have to accept that the housing offers that you receive. But then at least you have the opportunity of that. And I think that's the most important things for the housing situation here. And I will leave it for the questions now, if there are any.
Yes, I'll just go through these. There's a lot of questions, so I'll just go to the housing questions. Melanie asked, I'll only turn 18 in April 2022, so next year. So can I apply via student housing, or do I need to use a private market? On the website of student housing, it says I need to be 18 when I move in.
Yeah, so usually you have to be 18, but it's also an option for instance, if your parents signed certain documents, they're just different documents that you need, but you can always contact them just to be sure, because it's in 2022, which is a while from now. So you can always contact them just to be entirely sure. But usually you just need documentation from your parents.
Great. And Ray asked, should we pay for early payment, down payment for our housing?
Usually there's a deposit. So I think it's 1 month rent to 3 months rent, but it depends a lot on which dormitory it is. So the rules can be different for each dormitory, but there's a security deposit that you will get back when you leave the accommodation, if you have not trashed the entire place.
And Danny asked, can I already apply for housing even though my studies are going to start in September, or do I have to wait until 1st of March?
You can apply now, but just again keep your application active, because otherwise it will be deleted.
Great. Let's see. Are there any housing options that allow small pets? This person has a cat.
Yes, there's one dormitory. It's a bit further out, so it's not in the city center. It's towards the outskirts of Aarhus, but they allow pets, and they have a lot of cats and dogs there, which is kind of cute. So that's that.
For you, Sandy, because you're a cat person as yourself.
Yes, just animal person in general.
Yes. And then Adriana asked, is it possible to apply for accommodation both via AU Housing and Student Housing Aarhus?
Yes, it is. The reason why we suggest that you apply through Student Housing Aarhus is because AU Housing are restructuring their housing catalog right now because of the COVID situation. So we simply don't know what we have and how much we can offer. So if you want to apply through AU Housing, we suggest that you also apply through Student Housing Aarhus, just to make sure that the odds are very big.
And then Anna asked, to make sure we have the best chance of getting a place, do you recommend applying for a housing guarantee as well?
Yes, I think so. I know that a lot of Danish students do that, just to make sure that they have a place. And again, you can always move to a different place. Later on, you can still keep an application for another place. So even if you move into an accommodation that you might not prioritize through the housing guarantee, you can always move at a later stage. So I think it would be a good idea, but again, just apply as soon as possible, because then the chances are bigger.
And then someone asked, do we have to find a home for 2021? And how will it happen because of COVID? I'm guessing someone's asking, not because he wants to live on the street, because classes are online and you don't know when you actually can come to the country.
Again, because the situation can change so fast, I think I would still apply for housing either through the private market or the student organizations, because if suddenly you don't have online classes, you'd need a place to stay. So I would recommend that you still find a place, unless of course you receive an email early on from AU stating that it will not be online. But otherwise I would recommend that you apply for housing.
And then someone asked, what if we get an offer for housing and you do not have the acceptance letter from Aarhus University yet? Do you have to immediately accept the offer, or can you later cancel the housing?
There's a certain deadline from after they sent the housing offer to when you need to accept it. But you can always accept it and then just send the documents later. I think the deadline is the 15th of August. So you should have the Aarhus University documents by then, and then you can just submit it. So you can easily accept the housing offer and then just send in the documents later. You can also reject it, but if you have accepted and then cancel it, there are certain rules for that as well. So again, please read on the website because they can change that quite fast.
And then someone's asking, does AU Housing guarantee accommodation for non-EU students?
We do not guarantee it for any students, again, because we're restructuring the housing catalog, so we don't know what the situation will be at the moment. So we do not have a guarantee for anyone.
Can students from Scandinavian countries apply for studies? I just read the next one, but I can see that this is a question about admission. So I will encourage school to ask this question for the admission presentation later. Lucas is asking about housing, so I'll get to that one. I saw on the housing website that the down payment is required. Does that work as a deposit? So down payment as deposit is the same?
Yeah.
Yeah. How realistic is the chance of getting the dormitory of your choice if you don't apply for housing guarantee?
I think you should look at the list of the estimated waiting time, because it would depend on when you apply. So for instance, if there is a 10-month waiting time, estimated waiting time, the chances are not that big unless you apply now. So just go to the different dormitories on the website and check the estimated waiting time. That would be my advice.
And then someone's asking if there's an alternative way to reach our students if they don't have WeChat or Instagram. And I'll just quickly mention that on our website, we have a place that's called international.eu.dk. You can find a place that's called Chat with Our Students, and you can reach out to even more than the 8 today. I think we have around 30 or 40 students that you can reach out. They won't probably all answer today, but there's definitely the opportunity. But otherwise, send us an email at study@au.dk and we can forward them to the 8 students talking today. Yep, let's see, there's more. We'll just get to 2 more housing questions and then we'll go to our Doris presentation. Someone's asking, are dormitories available for Erasmus traineeship students for internships at the university?
One more time, please.
Erasmus trainee students, can they apply for dormitories as well?
I know that they can through AU Housing, yes, but that's on the housing website. I can also link that in the chat just to be safe, but I'm unsure about the student housing Aarhus.
And last question that we'll do today, if I didn't get to your questions, there's a lot of questions, please just send us an email and we'll definitely get to them. But last one is, can we apply for housing even though we haven't begun the AU application yet?
Yes, again, just keep it active.
And then I think this one is pretty relevant, so we'll do that as the final one. How much is usually the rent for student accommodation?
It varies a lot. Some of them are very cheap, and others, especially if you go for a 2-room apartment and you're only one person, they are a bit more expensive. But I would say probably some of them are listed 2,000, but some of them are maybe 3,000-4,000 if you go for the apartments.
But the cheapest one would be a room at a dormitory on the outskirts of the city?
Yeah.
All right, so now I think we'll move on. Thank you for all the questions. It's really great. And thank you, Sanne, for getting us through the housing. Now I'll leave the screen to Dorte to do the presentation on career.
Thank you, Gitte. I'll just try and share my screen. Okay, is it working right now?
Yes, looks good.
Good. Okay, so my name is Dorte and I work at the International Center at Aarhus University. Primarily, I focus on career service for international students, and that's what I'm going to talk to you or tell you a little bit about today. We assist students when you're looking for, that could be a part-time job during your studies. It could also be like if you are looking for an internship, or you need a connection to a company regarding a project as part of your degree program while you are actually studying. And of course, we also help you find your first real job after you graduate. So these are the services that we actually offer at the International Center. You are allowed to stay in Denmark and work throughout your studies. If you are a non-EU citizen, you are allowed to work up to 20 hours per week. And during the summer, June, July, and August, you are allowed to work full-time. If you are an EU student, actually, there's no maximum on the number of hours that you are allowed to work during your studies, but of course 20 hours, that is also what we recommend as a maximum, because you also have your studies. And that's what you have to focus on too. And of course, we also allow students to stay in Denmark after graduation in order to find employment. For if you are a non-EU citizen, you are allowed to stay up to 6 months to find employment. If you are an EU student, actually there's no really maximum on that time. But of course, you have to look into your residence permit, because it matters how, if you are a student or if you are coming to work. So I'm just going to briefly introduce you to some of the services that we offer at the Career Center. We focus on kind of 3 things. Improving your career skills, so you meet actually the advisors and organize different workshops. These workshops could be like how to write a curriculum, how to write a good motivation letter, how to update your LinkedIn profile, how to prepare for a job interview. Of course, we also give you access to our job portal, where you can find internship jobs and part-time jobs, but also real jobs after graduation. We also introduce you to the Entrepreneurship Center, or it's called The Kitchen. It's a fairly new building and center at Aarhus University if you want to become an entrepreneur and work on your own. There they have advisors that can help you. For example, write a business case, how to finance your business, etc. It's important to meet the advisors and attend these workshops, but of course it's also very important to meet other students. We know that from previous studies that and students that if you want to stay in Denmark after graduation, then it's important to have a social network. So we organize monthly cultural and social activities together with Danish students, but also together with international students. That could be like Do It Like a Dane. It's one of the events that we organize where you get to hear about what are the traditions in Denmark around Christmas time, for example, or Easter coming up. You could also meet ambassadors from companies, international students who actually are working in Denmark right now, and hear about their daily life in a company. So some of the informalities that you probably wouldn't know as a student or as an international, for example, how to small talk during lunchtime or how to approach your supervisor, stuff like that. So you get to meet other students. That's also what we focus on. Of course, we also focus on company networking. So inviting you in to meet future employers. That could be career days, like big events in different cities in Denmark as such, where you go from booth to booth and meet the different companies or employers. It could also be like small speed networking events where you have 10 companies attending, and you speed talk to them like 5 to 10 minutes every for every student, for every company. And of course, we also organize like visits to companies, but also invite companies in to tell about their company and what possibilities there would be for you as a future job for you as a student. So why do students stay in Denmark after graduation? In Denmark, we have an excellent work-life balance. It is possible to have a family and also to have a job, a full-time job. If you work, the work week is 37 hours, 5 days, and then you have 5 weeks of paid leave. Of course, students, they also want to have a job in Denmark to have an international experience, to develop their professional skills. Also, the average Danish CERL level is quite high compared to other countries, so that could also be a reason. And then the unemployment rate is also quite low. It's about 4% at the moment. I just want to, as a last slide, I just want to present to you some of the biggest employers in Denmark. Gitte also mentioned some of them in her presentation. For example, the Maersk Shipping Company, Lego Toy Company, Vestas Windmill, an energy producer. We have Novo Nordisk, pharma and biotech industry. We have Grundfos pump industry. Carlsberg Beer, Velux Windows, the Danish Bank, also Arla Foods, big food producing industry close to actually situated here in Aarhus, having their headquarters here. Of course, we also have international companies like IKEA, IBM, and a lot of other big companies here in Denmark. Many of them, they run graduate programs. So directly after your studies or the last semester during the studies, you can actually attend their graduate programs and kind of get start up your job in the companies. But of course, all the huge amount of possibilities of getting a job in Denmark lies in smaller, minor, local companies close to actually Aarhus also, because there's so many of them there. So those were actually the words from me. If you have any questions, you can ask them now, but you are also feel free to email me afterwards too. And you can also go to our Future and Career website for international students if you have any more questions. I guess that was it.
All right, thank you so much, Dorte. I think we have a few questions, so I'll just get to them. So Melanie asked, with regard to internship, but also jobs, do I need to speak Danish?
I would not say it's not a requirement, but we actually encourage international students to attend Danish courses. Like I guess also Gitte mentioned it. It's free of charge. It's not like companies expect you to be able to speak Danish, but I'm sure you would also experience that it's an advantage for you, and especially if you want to work in a minor company or a smaller local company.
And then someone asked, do you advise to work next to studying a master in business, or is it too much next to studying? Maybe that's also something to ask our students who are talking on Instagram today. But what do you think, daughter?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Do you advise to have a job next to studying a master in business, or is it too much?
I think you should start up by just studying, and then I would recommend that you see how much time do you have in your spare time, and then in the beginning, especially if you come to Denmark and you start your master's program, then you focus on housing, getting a network, social things to work, and you start up your studies, then maybe after half a year, but it varies from person to person. I would say it's a personal question, also a matter of that.
And then Luigi asked, how hard is it and how long does it take to find a student job in Aarhus when you don't speak Danish?
I wouldn't say it's, there are, of course, now with the COVID situation, lots of bars and stuff like that, they're closed. So it depends on also what kind of job you would like to have. But I would say it's not easy, but it's you have a chance also as an international. There are many international students having jobs or part-time jobs.
And then Arthur asked, where may I find Erasmus internship opportunities for master degree?
They are not, I guess they are not offered openly in the job database. We have maybe you should ask us at the study@au.dk and we'll answer that question more precisely. I would recommend that you do that, because we have a person at the international office taking care of that.
And then someone asked, what are the conditions for non-EU citizens to access a career in Denmark? I'm guessing that he thinks after he graduates.
I think the chances are the same as for an EU student. There's no different there. We do have international non-EU students starting up a career in Denmark and Aarhus after graduation. It depends on you. If you would like to stay, we help you make your path on your way to with all these workshops and giving you a chance to learn Danish, have a social network, and then also meet the companies. Many companies, they would really like to have international students too. And in Aarhus, and the surroundings, or if maybe travel time 1 hour from here, you have many possibilities. There are many companies here.
And then Adriana asked, is it true that students can receive financial help from Denmark's government if we work at least 43 or 47 hours? And she doesn't remember the exact number, a month. So I think she's talking about SU.
If you have a student's job, you are allowed as an EU student to apply for SU. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to work at least 10 to 12 hours per week.
Yes.
I think it is. Yeah. How much can you improve your chances in the labor market by being able to speak Danish?
I think you will have a fairly good chance if you speak Danish. I mean, you'll have. I don't have a percentage but you will definitely improve your skills and your chances of getting a job.
And someone asked, what are the best platforms or websites to find student jobs?
You can have access to our job portal while you're a student here, and at that website you will be able to find a lot of the student job that our partners and also our that are in general offered. You can find that in the database. Otherwise, there are like public databases for student jobs. And I would also say, maybe I can add, this is also a reason why it's important when you come here to attend to be part of a network, because your network can also help you find a job. For example, if you meet other Danish or international students, you hear that they are looking for a new student assistant in an office, and they know you, they will ask you to apply for that job. So it's also, there's a lot of things going on behind the scene. You could say it's really important to have a good network. And that's why we invite you in while you start up your studies. And I guess that Sigrun, she will also talk about this in the next presentation.
And then someone's asking if there are student job opportunities directly at the university, e.g. like teaching aids or homework correction. So I think like
yes.
Helping professors.
Yes, there are, for example, we have in our office, we have maybe 20 student assistants at the International Center. But we also, it's also, you're also invited into if professors need assistance to help them out. Yes, like, yeah, we also have I know student assistants who have jobs like that.
And then someone asked, do you need to be 18 years old to get a job?
No, but I would guess all the students' jobs at most of them are you have to be over 18, but it's not like it's impossible. But that would be other kinds of job. It would be in a supermarket, stuff like that.
Yes, I guess you have a personal experience there, daughter, with kids around that age.
Yes, exactly. For example, you are not allowed to work in a bar if you are below 18, stuff like that. But you can work in a supermarket. Yeah.
And someone's asked, can the International Center help me find a job if I'm going to Herning?
They have a career center in Herning too. So then we have a contact there. So they have a career center in Herning too. So they will help you out there. But you're also, for example, it's the same database. So, and you can, as long as we have online events, you are welcome to attend our events too here at the main campus.
And then I think we'll do 2 more questions and then we'll go over to Sigrun. So next one is Valeria. She's asking, is getting a job while studying well seen by professors, or is it something that they don't really like?
I think normally I think professors, they don't mind. It's if you they don't mind, and you don't discuss that questions, I would say, with the professor. That depends on, of course, if you work for the professor, then it's another thing. But normally say it's not a problem, I would say.
And then we have still a few questions related to this. Do we need to speak Danish, English? So maybe just wrap up by saying, is there any student jobs where you only speak English, and what are the chances if you only speak English to get a student job? So let's that be the last one.
I would say in general, you can have, we have many student assistants and students who would like to have a student job speaking just English, and that is possible. I would say it depends on the job. If it's a local company, then they might ask you to have some questions. But if you work at the university, or if you get a job in a bar or in the city as such, it's no problem. Then you can just speak English, so you will get along with that.
Great. And that's also a question that you can ask our students, because a lot of them are not fluent in Danish yet, but still have student jobs. So feel free to reach out to them as well. And now I'll leave the screen for you, Sigrun, to talk about Studenterhus Aarhus. And thank you very much, Dorte.
Thank you very much. Let me see. Make this work. All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you for having me. My name is Siron. Also, happy Asian or Chinese New Year's to everyone for whom that's relevant. So now you heard about education and career and housing. And while that's all important, of course, the most important thing is for you to have fun and have a great semester or more while you're here. Basically have a life, and that's where I come in. My name is Sion. I'm the international coordinator at Studenterhus Aarhus, student house. I'm Danish. I've lived in Aarhus for longer than I want to admit to you. And I also studied at Aarhus University myself. And now I work with international and Danish students every day. And it is based on my experiences and their experiences that I'll talk today. So Aarhus, Gitte already said a little bit about it. And in case you forgot, I also have a little map of where it is, in case you forgot. I also wanted to share, also as Gitte did, a picture of the university park as it looks these days, because it kind of seems like all of Aarhus is celebrating the fact that you're listening to a whole presentation about it. It's very beautiful right now. I also wanted to share with you, this is the picture from my window, so you can see what a regular Danish street looks like on a beautiful day like this. This is also proof that it doesn't always rain in Aarhus, as some people may tell you. Aarhus is an old city, dates all the way back from Viking times. We are very proud of that, so you'll hear a lot about it. We even put Vikings on our traffic lights, some of them. It's nestled right between the sea and forest, so there's lots of nature opportunities and great walks, and you can bathe in the sea all year round if you want. It's not a large city by international standards, 350,000 inhabitants and then 50,000 students. So as Gitte also said, it's a very young city, and that is really influencing everything, I think, here in Aarhus. It really is a student city, and that means that we have lots of life all year round. We have a lot of music venues. There's lots of cafes and bars. You will find out Danish people like to go out a lot. There's lots of there's music festivals, literature festivals, culture festivals, sound festivals. There's a lot of startups and green initiatives. There's a lot of sustainability like festivals or initiatives going on. You'll also find out that most Danish students bike everywhere. And for those of you who are from Holland, Denmark is very hilly. We don't have any mountains, but we do have hills. So, you know, a bike with gears is very important. I also want to repeat what Gitte said, that it's a very safe city. And this is something that's very important to highlight for a lot of my international students. As a woman or a man, you can walk home at night alone without being bothered. I think I've lost my purse 6 times while living here, and I always got it back. Be careful, of course, but it is a very safe place, which is very nice. It being a student city, and most of the students here are from Aarhus University, and that means that Aarhus University is a big part of the life here. You can end up in a very university-based bubble where suddenly you have activities every day and it's all on campus. You know, basically what happens when 40,000 young people hang out at the same place every day. We have a beautiful park where there's a lot of life, and there's a picture here from above, from the boat race that Gita also talked about, great day. We also have in September, October, there's a big sports event ending up with a big park party and a music venue. We have every study has their own Friday bar almost. Here's a little map of where you can find all the Friday bars at Aarhus University, which is really just usually a classroom, as you can see here, where some students sell beer very cheap, and you can hang out, meet students from all faculties, all studies, and just make sure that there's a social environment, which for at least for me was a huge part of studying. And there's lots of student unions. Think everything from Model UN to knitting clubs you can find at Aarhus University. There was a question about Danish, so I quickly put in together this very simple slide of Danish. If you're even considering staying in Denmark after graduation, learn Danish. We all speak English, that's true, but if you want to show a future employer that you want to stay here and that you can talk to even that old secretary woman and join the lunch break conversation, then show that you have tried to learn Danish. For everybody with a Danish CPR, and you will all get that, it's free. There's a deposit of 2,000 kroner, but then you can have free Danish lessons twice a week for 2.5 years. So really do this if you're even remotely considering staying here. Danish is not the easiest language, but it's always fun to understand a little bit more about the culture you're in when you're here. So I will definitely recommend that. If you think a whole Danish lesson is a little too much, we all, try Duolingo or Swap Language, an association for language learning that we have here. Find a Dane, swap Spanish for Danish, whatever you can do. If you want to just dabble your feet a little bit, we're actually doing an introduction to Danish online class on Wednesday. And you can just join it if you want and try it out. And we'll do all this kind of thing. So that was Danish. A little bit about the student house where I work. It's a meeting place for students at all higher educations in Aarhus. It's a private NGO. We consist of an office. We are 8 people working full-time just to make Aarhus the best place for students, whatever that entails. And we do that with around 150 volunteers, making everything happen and keeping it all relevant for young people today. We have a cafe and a bar. Cafe where everybody can meet and study. We do all kinds of events here, karaoke nights, movie nights, lecture nights. You can get cheap coffee. We have a bar with 250 types of beer. So I'll wager you can find a beer from your country. If not, I'll give you one. And again, Danes like the beer, so it's a nice fun place to hang out. Basically, we try to do whatever is relevant for students. We do big concerts, small concerts, big parties, clothes swap days, secondhand bazaars, bridge building to companies, how to get a job events, Christmas Eve. There was a question about job portals. We also have one. And there are usually, that's for student jobs and internships. You can find it on our website. And there are usually actually a lot for internationals as well, opportunities. So it is possible for international students also to get a very study relevant job. As I told you, I'm the international coordinator at the house, and that means that I work full-time just to make Aarhus a great place to be an international student. That we do 2-3 events per week just for internationals. Well, Danes are allowed, but it's important that English is the main language and that we, you know, try out different stuff. And we'll do social events like carnival or forest walks, how to get a job for internationals, trips to beautiful, unique places in Denmark that are a little hard to get to, or maybe a little bit expensive. And I do all that with around 20 Danish and international volunteers, so they know what's fun for international students. Right now, of course, there's Corona times, so everything we do right now is online. That means that all of you are very welcome to join if you want. It's open for everyone, and this could be a good way to meet students who are already enrolled at Aarhus University. Just join an introduction to Danish, a game night, or we do bi-weekly yoga classes, and you're really very welcome to join all of it. It's all free, of course. That was it for me for now. I mean, I could talk about Aarhus and life as a student for hours, but I will, you know, limit myself a little bit. This is where you can find us if you want to know more. We have find us at ESN Aarhus is our international Facebook page. We also have an Instagram, ESN Aarhus, also there, where you can get a glimpse of life as a student in Aarhus. If you have any questions, write us on the page or the Instagram. You can also write my personal email or my call me. I am here, and you know, I work to help you guys out. So whatever you need, I can also help you maybe with tips for the job search if that's what you're most interested in. And now I think I'm ready for questions.
Yep.
So
We have just a few questions before we end this session, so you can be ready for the next session at 12:20. One is asking, do you have different sports teams?
Yes. Well, Aarhus University has something called AU Sport, which is sports associations, and they do all kinds of things. At Studenterhus Aarhus specifically, we have a running club where, when it's not Corona, we run twice a week. But AU Sports has both facilities and all kinds of teams you can join. And
otherwise in Denmark, it's very normal just to have a lot of general sports unions that's also open to students.
Yes, so Aarhus is like an association club country. So almost everyone I know is somehow in a club or association, whether that's playing football with some guys every Sunday or going out and looking at plants.
So we almost have any sport, I guess, that you can do. Next one is, are there any language summer school courses, like for teaching learning Danish, I guess?
I think Dorte can answer that better than I.
Well, no, I don't think for like real summer school, but for learning Danish, are there anything over the summer?
I would have to check this language centers, but I think there is.
And maybe in the same line, I want to learn Danish now. How can I start?
That's a good question. Well, there is the possibility that you can actually join some of the language schools. They might have online teaching right now because of the Corona.
I know Swap Language has a lot of online classes.
Find Swap Language. They do online Danish classes, that's true.
Where can we apply for free courses of Danish?
When you get your CPR number, and you will get that as a kind of, now you're part of the Danish Society proof, and that's your health card as well. When you come to Denmark, and the university will make sure you get this. You will also get an email from the state saying you are eligible for Danish class. And it will tell you where to go. So you can only join the free Danish class when you have your CPR.
Yes.
Yes.
And then someone's asking, how do you make sure that a serious study environment is not jeopardized with all these casual activities?
Well, you're grown-ups, so that is up to the individual to find a good balance between a very exciting study and a very exciting study time. For me personally, having a lot of good friends with the same interest of study as I did really made me a better student.
And that's maybe also a very Danish thing, that everything is up to you. It's your own responsibility to make the most of both your learning experience and also your social life. But we will at least give you all the tools for both of them. All right. Let's see. Someone's asking, how long does it take to adjust to life in Denmark?
That is also very individual. I mean, some people do it in a week, and some people find everything strange for the whole semester that they're here. It also depends on how big the culture class is from where you come from yourself. So unfortunately, I think that's impossible to answer. But the more you try and talk to people and immerse yourself in the culture, the faster it will be and the more fun you will have, I think.
And then someone's asking, could you repeat a more easy question? Could you repeat when and where is Danish language night?
The online one?
Or maybe is there a language night at the International Studenterhus?
Yeah, so okay, we're doing on Wednesday at 5, we're doing an introduction to Danish, and you can find that on our Facebook page. The event is not up yet, but it will be today. So that's just the ESN Aarhus page, you can find it there. The other language centers you can also find on our website.
Great. And then someone's asking, is it easy to socialize with Danish students, or are the events mostly attended by internationals?
That's a good question. Danish people are very famously a little bit reserved. And I'm sorry, Gita, I'm being very honest here. What I hear is that they're very easy to talk to when they drink beer. So join the Friday bars. That would be the best place to meet Danish people. And of course, also some of the events that we do are very much mainly internationals, but some of it is also 50-50, and that's also a good place. Volunteering is also a very easy way to meet some Danes.
I think we'll do last 2 questions. Someone's asking, don't I get CPR number automatically when I do my application? And that's a no. You have to apply for that when you come, and you'll get a lot more information about that after you have been admitted to the program.
Yeah, the university will help you with that, so
Yeah.
it will be easy and simple.
Yeah, but you have to apply. And then someone's asking, can a PhD student join ESN Aarhus or Studenterhus Aarhus?
Yes, definitely. And I would say that for PhD students, the university also does a lot just for the international PhDs. But you're very welcome to join anything we do.
Yes.
And I saw Esther found the online introduction, so looking forward to see you all there.
Yes, perfect. And I think even though there's more questions, we don't have more time for questions. I'll just share my screen very shortly again. Let's see. Just to tell you that now it's time to talk about admissions. I don't even know if you see my screen. There's something wrong with my computer right now. But it's we end this session now. So please go to the admission. And if you need any help during the rest of the day, don't hesitate to send us an email at study@au.dk. We are ready on that email to answer anything ASAP. Or you can also reach out to us on Facebook, Aarhus University, or on Instagram, of course. So don't hesitate to reach out, and feel free to ask us all of those questions that we didn't get to. But thank you for all the questions, and thank you again for coming today. Yep. Bye, bye everyone.